I'm grateful to David Perry QC, who has conducted an independent review of the sanctions appropriate for non-payment of a licence fee. The TV licence fee enforcement review, which is being published today, has concluded that decriminalisation would not be appropriate under the current funding model. The government will now consider the case for decriminalisation as part of the Charter review. I am today before Parliament laying the TV licence fee enforcement review and placing copies in the House libraries. More people, especially younger people, now access catch-up television exclusively online and without a licence. This is perfectly legal, as the existing legislation was drawn up when the iPlayer did not even exist. The government is committed to updating that legislation. We will also analyse the merits of contestable public service funding pot that would not just be limited to the BBC. And we will look again at what areas and activities should have their funding protected in future. Broadband rollout, digital switchover, local TV, the World Service and the Welsh language channel S4C were protected in the last Charter period. As I announced the other day, Mr Speaker, the broadband ring fence is to be phased out by 2020-21, and S4C will be expected to find similar savings to those in the BBC. Finally, Mr Speaker, is the question of how the BBC is governed and regulated. Any organisation as large as the BBC needs effective governance and regulation. There have been occasions when the BBC has fallen well short of the standards that we expect of it. Editorial failures in the light of the Jimmy Savile revelations, the aborted digital media initiative and the level of salaries and severance payments are among the issues that have caused disquiet. A lack of clarity in the BBC's governance structures has contributed to those failures. The last Charter brought in a new regulatory model, creating the BBC Trust, which exists to represent licence fee payers and hold the BBC to account. This structure has been widely criticised, and the chair of the BBC Trust herself has called for reform. There are three broad options: reforming the trust model, creating a unitary board and a new standalone oversight body, or moving external regulation wholesale to Ofcom. As with funding options, each of these has pros and cons. Mr Speaker, while the BBC's editorial independence must not be compromised, that does not mean that we are not entitled to ask whether the BBC could be more transparent and to scrutinise how the BBC relates to the public, Parliament and government. Any public body should be fully accountable to the public. People should be able to give voice as to how well they think the BBC spends public money, some 30 billion over the current Charter period, and how well it meets its myriad other responsibilities. The British Broadcasting Corporation is part of the fabric of this country and is a source of great pride. We want it to thrive in the years to come. This consultation paper sets out the framework for what I hope will be a wide-ranging and informative national debate about the future of the BBC.